Good morning, staff, students, and the community at FDA. I am JF Seary, and I'm really excited to be your host today for our installment of Her Story with you. I have an extra added pleasure in that today I get to introduce you to who many of you probably already know, Mr. Paul Mcintosh. I'm really excited about this introduction because he and I have been working together in collaboration with HerStory and Generation Verb for several years now. I actually even had the honor and the pleasure of working with his son on a project a couple of months ago. Mr. Mcintosh is a retired educator, a youth advocate, a community liaison who has been committed for his entire life and career to enhancing the experiences of New York City youth through building bridges with organizations like HerStory, Generation Verb, and developing community partnerships that have really done something incredible for the youth at FDA. So please help me welcome to this, your virtual stage and our New Yorican stage, Mr. Paul Mcintosh.
Good morning. Good morning, FDA 2 community. Good morning, scholars. Good morning, teachers. Good morning, parents. We gather today to provoke, inspire, and celebrate womanhood. We gather today to celebrate Women's History Month. Permit me to introduce two former students from the village of FDA 2, Mona Al-Holiday and Esther Deacon, with the words of Langston Hughes. Well, son, I'll tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it, and splinters, and boards torn up, and places with no carpet on the floor. But all the time, eyes have been a climbing on, and reaching landings, and turning corners, and sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. So boy, don't you turn back. Don't you sit down on the steps because your finds are kind of hard. Because I still going, honey. I still climbing. And life for me ain't been no crystal stair. Mother to son or mother to daughter by Langston Hughes. It gives me great pleasure and I'm humble to welcome to this stage, Mona and Esther.
I always wonder what the world will be like without religion. Would the French War if religion happened? Would 8 million of people die in the War of 1618? Would ISIS have existed in 1999? And then we build our countries based on religion and fear secularism and teach our kids how our religion is better than any religion. Why? Can't we see the deaths? Can't we see how 1,000 people scream, enough? Are we that deaf to hear them beg and scream and say stop? Are we that blind to see their tears and ignore it until it disappears? How can you go back home smiling, eating, and playing with your kids, not thinking of how others are screaming scared without a home, without a mother, without a father, eating dirt to survive? And all we do is act racist to each other and killing people for their skin color, being greedy and not believing in climate change and swearing to build walls and taking lives and destroying habitats and taking people's freedom of speech and taking women as sex objects, telling them what's right and what's wrong, telling them that they're weak and not strong, telling them what to do with their body. Oh, insanity. What is it now? What is it? Natural selection? Is that how the world is gonna be? Or how it always has been? You don't know what is it like running to the living room so the gunshot doesn't go through the window and hit you, or seeing your mom collapse because she thinks you're dead, or watching people scream with no hope looking at a body half dead, or seeing kids losing arms and legs or getting taken to be a child soldier. What is it now? Not every kid should have access to education, family, safety, a precious smile, but all what they have is pain, fear, depression, a wrong inspiration, and I swear everyone is walking the trail of tears. What can I tell a girl with no arm to comfort her? A boy with no family to live happily, a whole nation with no future to live reality. Face the floor, scared to look up, so I ignore. What can I restore? Even the birds left and won't come back anymore.
Your voice I hear but can't see. Your body I see but can't touch. You became my human ecstasy. I understand your hesitation since I've caused you great grief and devastation, and I'm sorry for what I've done to you. I shamed you, cursed you, hurt you, disappointed you. I was your last angel and I fell with the others. I miss you. I'm sorry that I betrayed you and failed to follow the path you taught me. I'm so sorry for all that I've done for you, but please, embrace me one more time. Hold me one more time. Your voice blew straight air through my body that gave life to me. Your hugs wiped away all my insecurities. Then why did you leave me? How can I fix this? Was it because I dishonored you? Was it because I disowned you in my heart and cast you away in my mind? Was it because I abandoned you in such a cruel world that wasn't even look your way twice? I said that I was so sorry. Mom, stay with me. I can still be your sunshine. I can still make you smile. I can still make you proud. So please just turn around and take me with you. Mom, please stay with me. Thank you.
Incredible, incredible, incredible work by our youth poets today who both participated in Generation Verb. Generation Verb is an organization that provides teaching artists to schools around the greater New York City area, Westchester, and Long Island. Not only do we amplify the voices of the women poets who are going to be coming to the stage in a couple of minutes, but we're also amplifying the voices of New York City's youth. And you just got a little taste of that just now. So in your own spaces, through the airwaves, clap as loud as you can for these young women who have done such an incredible job today. They're off running to their classes. So they got here, they performed for you, now they're running back into their busy lives. And now I'd like to introduce to you Suzen Baraka, Leah James, Ramya Ramana, and Kristina G. This current cast of HerStory. HerStory is going to take you on a journey where you're going to laugh, cry, feel joy, and maybe a little bit of anger. This is the work of HerStory. It amplifies the voices of diverse women around the country. HerStory has toured numerous colleges, and we're bringing it live to you today. So please join me in welcoming to the stage HerStory.
Are you ready, brainwaves? We are here to train our minds to think on a more positive note, higher frequency.
That sounds like a lot of labor-intensive work. We have reached out to the most creative and productive minds around to give us the solutions to all of our problems in this hat. Are you gonna make us work out today? Because I already did that.
Brainwaves, are you ready to get your life together? There's only one rule. You must try what you draw. On my way here, I had 12 dollops of depression, 10 dimes of worry. I saw the spirit leave my body the way a spirit leaves the body when it's on its way out. But then I said, let me try this. I'll go first. Prayer? Okay. All right, everybody come up with your own prayer.
My turn! Okay, I am always on level 10 and I need something to calm me down. So hopefully there's something in this hat that'll allow me to just take a deep breath.
it says inhale and exhale on a 5 count. Okay. Here, let's try it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I guess I'll go next. I really need some balance. My head is always in the clouds. Sometimes I don't know who's who or what's what. Meditation. Wait, the universe wants me to think more?
The universe wants you to align your thoughts. I do that best in my sleep without anyone or anyone there to remind me. I simply need help to stay awake, to keep the fire alive. Affirmation. Yeah. Talk nice to myself. Manifest happiness.
Why are you laughing? Delta, you have to take more than rest. You have to do all of these things. And if you're just like me, you do all 3.
Theta, you are standing in your purpose. Everybody you've been inspired by is inspired by you. Theta, stand in the moment. You are exactly where you need to be.
You are so incredible, and I have learned so much from this. You and this hand.
Cuomo's sending out that $600 check, and I can finally pay off my credit card that's been lounging in collections for a year now. Lawyer notices and all. And it's a shame to realize the government has money for what it has money for, just like a dude has time for who he has time for. And it takes 1 million people dying just to show face. But most days, I'm too exhausted to have conversations that just seem to go in circles. Most days, I'm reminded of what the body meant to me before it meant to me an object of moving. I'm cushioning myself in a moment that lasts longer than today or tomorrow. I'm reminded of the body's silence and what it was afraid of. I'm reminded of everything I tried to run away from, like the depression and the thoughts in my head to take it away, to take me away, to sit drenched in the impossibility of tomorrow. And for the first time, I'm inching closer towards heaven. I'm reminded that today alone is enough, that I have access to an eternity that is everywhere at all times, and it still chooses to be with me. That time is an illusion, and we are all marked by days and seasons and months, but maybe for once, I can choose what to mark instead of it marking me. That I am not an object to be pushed around to 9 different high schools, be put on one medication after the other, misdiagnosis after misdiagnosis, almost left, almost trafficked, definitely taken from my body. I can sit with all this new truth, with all this new time, with nowhere outside, but only inside to go. And I can say that more than I have been marked, I can choose what to mark. And I can say that I was a person before anything ever happened to me, and begin from there. Woo! A week before college, my mother tried to take herself. She was all dusty relic, crumb of martyr, symposium of darkness. My father found her at the house, her body a tombstone of rumbling earthquakes. Is this what a failed exorcism looks like? He left that day earlier. He left to marry a woman from Thailand that he has just met a month ago. He will not be back in the country for a month. I cannot afford a dead mother or a blink, because any moment she can become all skeleton, all lack of soul and still. I stayed at my pastor's house for a week. They made sanctuary out of their palms and held me like the last scripture that is read before the end of times. And at this moment, I understood why I always hated theology. Because when God happens, nothing else matters. The only thing I knew to do was to quietly simmer these lips, to understand that there is a time for everything. When my mother started getting better, she asked for my father constantly. I didn't know how to remind her that the contracts were signed, that in this country, ink means far more than blood. A week later, her teeth open and close like the lid of a garbage can, and I'm not sure how I feel about this. For all she asks is for my father. I wondered then if mountains constantly ask for oceans, or if oceans cannot live without mountains. I realize neither of this is true. They are both beautiful and whole, and together they complement one another. This is caricature of relationship, but people do not understand that the earth is just an infinite book of analogies on God and purpose, including me. Because what do I know about human life besides that it is far more than just surviving? Woo.
Nanan hanguk haram. My Korean language teacher laughs at me. Oh no, you are miguk saram. I am hanguk saram too. But this is always a statement met with disbelief, as if Black faces all look alike and like nothing familial. Only familiar with drugs, only synonymous with crime. And though I can't get past the first 3 minutes of menace to society, perpetuating stigmas cause my people not to desire me. See, I'm the Black girl in class. Even though the other pupils are as Korean as my eyes, they do not see me, as if Blackface is the ultimate disguise. Why are you here? What are you? And every time I hear it, I want to crawl into a hole and sit fetal style in my mother's womb. She is why I'm here. And yet, I don't quite fit inside of her. I can't quite get comfortable in her silhouette. She protects her stories by putting up language barriers and tripwire. Understanding stumbles over her words, so she tells lies with her shoes. She's not that tall. She's taller. Sujana, she calls me. Oh, Ma, I call her. See, I store kimchi in my heart, pumps red pepper blood, spicy. My heart burns Korea, and fried chicken burns my mouth. I learned that from my Black grandma who grew up down south, but on 5th Ave and 30th Street. Yo, Korean fried chicken and beer, $18, all you can eat. But this is more than a bulgogi and collard greens type thing. Yes, my mother does do nails for a living. But beyond that customer server smile, yo, my mother has been through things. A man who was supposed to change her life forever. A man who was supposed to change her world, but it was unexplored, even though it had already been discovered, and she was an outsider. She had ventured for him to come home, and it was no home at all. His frustration tore into her like teeth into the flesh of Newark. That's where we lived, Newark, where they threw rocks at her children for being different, where love spilled out of her pores for the first time and landed black on her skin, blue on her heart. This was not come true. This was reality, devastation, like leaving your friends, your family, your country for a man who has nothing except your dreams remains on the dinner plate he just left on the table for you to collect. Yes, my mother does do nails for a living, but she also owns that nail salon, owns 2 houses, and raised 2 Black Korean girls on her own time. So when they ask me, why are you here? What are you? I answer, 나는 한국 사람. Why? What are you? I owe too many poems to too many women. Undefinable heroes, some with names that'll never touch my lips. Human beings that'll never be more than the vague, fungible assignments we give. Mother, wife, woman. This is for you, Emily Shack, who migrated from Marietta, Florida to Newark, New Jersey to raise 2 Black boys on her own. You, Hoyeon Kim, who emigrated from South Korea to the United States of America for a Black man. So yeah, family disowned. You, Raquel Baraka,
who traveled from Santo Domingo, DR to Prison City, New Jersey for a man she loved and a ready-made family, and you, the Honorable Karimu F. Hill Harvey, who was told by her high school counselor that she'd never be college material. So she went on to college and then to law school and then became a lawyer, a judge, and a college professor. So maybe it's because the women who raised me wear their struggle beneath onyx and alabaster surfaces where Black and any accent don't crack, that they be beautiful and I be they, and they be the type to stitch their dreams into my eyelids, stitch my eyelids to the air, make come true. So I write them into my verses and I fight for them with everything I do, because being a woman is hard. And being a woman of color is harder. For starters, Breonna Taylor's walls got more justice than she did. And what is a wall? A structure that leaves us enclosed or divided. And isn't that the mission, to enclose and divide, like one woman in her home plus one bullet from her gun somehow equals 22 bullets shot by the biggest gang in Louisville, Kentucky, led by Uncle Tom, Daniel Cameron. But I see you, Breonna, and I'm sorry they couldn't. The white erasure of Black faces and Black bodies and Black voices and Black stories will not succeed. From Tamika Palmer to Tamika Mallory, we fight for us and we shall be freed. Black women and women of color, we come from a breed forged by rape and mutilation, racism and deprivation, torture and violence, yet here we are. Kamala Harris 2020 vibes, breaking our silence. Some of y'all talking about hashtag protect Black women, like y'all ain't been the ones hashtag hurting Black women, hashtag attacking Black women, hashtag abusing Black women, hashtag using Black women, hashtag dehumanizing Black women, hashtag belittling Black women. There be no boxes could contain the rawness of the spirit, and there be spirit under this petite mound of flesh. And you can't menagerie into glass spaces. We be more than this figurine. We are rainbow women who tattoo wings to our ankles, who sprinkle glitter and hot sauce on our tongues. And you try to tame us, break, bend, and reshape us. But we are women who jump into piles of autumn leaves with matches on our feet. We light fires, and sometimes we bathe in them, kindle them with the liquor on our breath and the gasoline in our gut. We are playing with the fire we be touched by, hoping this burn doesn't leave a scar, and you are nothing compared to the struggles our mothers have already overcome. Rainbow women been protecting y'all. Who going to protect rainbow women?
At the coffee shop I used to work at, there's a running joke where the owner grabs the 5-pound bag of decaf espresso and relabels them depresso, AKA sad beans, AKA, you know what that means. Customers point and chuckle like there isn't art on the walls right behind them. Did you know that decaf is still slightly caffeinated? That's the funny part. You order something that doesn't make sense and I make it happen with a smile or a grunt, you know, give the people what they want, decaf. It's short for decaffeinated coffee whose nutritional value is identical to coffee itself. What do you say to a sad bean that defeats its own purpose? In between drinks, I tend to sink myself deeper into imposter syndrome and somehow spiral my thoughts to make a connection and ground them into a poem. Decaf is me. I am depresso, decaf is me, full body ristretto. Decaf is coffee from sad beans that have had at least 97% of their caffeine removed. I've had the gastric sleeve removed about 75% of my stomach. You see, sad beans are washed in water and solvents until the caffeine has been extracted. Then the solvent pretends like it never even existed. Some days, my decaf makes it so hard to take showers, feels like I should have never even existed. Feels like I should have never even existed. I heart stop compliments and gather the lies of I'm all right and I'm fine like rhymes as I build myself afloat to the land unshore. When your drive is dried and donated to the hopeless hands of an caffeinated crowd, call me a tour guide to the lost and found. Decaf is me. I am depresso. Decaf is me. Full body ristretto. There's a running joke at the coffee shop. I used to slay that, where the owner grabs the 5-pound bag of decaf espresso and relabels them depresso, AKA sad beans. I laugh under my breath. I'm your favorite autopilot at its best. Yo, next time, can you lift the lid and check? There's always art to be made. My decaf is a beautiful mess. No. I've been haunted by this poem from the day I stole its shine. The scene was set so beautiful. Finals, Apollo 2013. Got my mom in the audience, but I go between two male poets doing mom poems, and I'm advised I won't be heard. I'm not sure if she knew this, but having a child with somebody doesn't mean you have to stay. It doesn't mean you transform into a sponge, absorb 30 years of madness before being blackmailed into marriage. Enlighten me, Mom. Ever since your gastric surgery, I feel like you've been trying to bypass your gastric bypass just so you can bypass the fact that breaking of habits don't happen as fast as you would like. You see, Dad, was all the junk food holding you back and you settled for safety and midnight snacks? I don't mind being the woman you aren't. I'm fine with getting loud and saying spiteful things I won't regret come morning. I fantasize about pushing his wheelchair far enough in the supermarket and taking your hand and running out of store, out of town, Florida. We can dye our hair red and only return to console his loyal fans at his funeral, looking better than every Thea that wanted nothing to do with it. I only ever prayed for him not to find us, define us, for him not to come home from jail and remind us our family was built out of hate and stardust. How do you get rid of a monster that made you, that tucked you to sleep, in your bed and put you to sleep on his chest? I get that I was made to break generational curses, but what am I supposed to do with all this generational trauma, this big old iceberg of identity that gets H-O-T, hot, for self-deprecation? Childhoods are meant for nostalgia, not parenting vacations, not separate residencies for dirty work and kid play, unaware that most predators already live at home. You know, unfortunately, middle school already happened and everyone already knew. Grandma told me how to recycle, rinse, repeat, recycle, the same relationship cycles. Couldn't you see you were the only one along for the ride, Mom? I wanted him gone more than I wanted your blue eyes, Mom. Daughter I am was fine with teaching you. It doesn't take balls to leave a man. It takes turning your back and leaving fear behind. Admitting there was a problem and that he already died. There's no more looking over our shoulder. We made it out alive. Who else can say they defeated the devil and kept his gold cross as the prize?
I have stared death in the face, but to be honest, some days still don't seem worth living. When you have experienced darkness like I have, you just don't forget it. You feel it deeply. I spend whole days trying to catch my breath like I ain't been running from it. Then I realize that I ain't been going nowhere. Like I've been running underwater. I'm getting tired of training for a marathon that I never signed up for. And no, I'm not complaining, but explaining myself is so draining and I'm angry. Poems like this, I can't release, it seems, because then God forbid people will see my humanity. And then they will know that all that glitters isn't gold. They all want the stages, but they just don't know the price that I've paid, the burdens I've gained, how much I still bleed, still cry, still want to die. My heart still jumps at every loud noise because deep down inside, I'm still that little girl who thinks it's her fault when things fall apart. Like when my daddy beat my mommy because I was too sick for her to take back the library books. Man, I'm a grown woman and I'm still shook. If people only knew how heavy my pen was, they'd keep their mouths shut. It takes all my energy sometimes just to hold my head up, simultaneously healing others while still healing myself. Because I too need help. Need a hug, need love, but no love ever seems to stay. They all love my image but cannot deal with what is inside of me. I have years of silence built up within my womb, but when those labor pains kick in, it's like all the men seem to leave the room and then have the nerve to tell me to take the pain that they caused and write poems. And then they wonder why I sound so angry, seem so bitter. I have lost more than I have gained. I am thankful for the sunshine, but more familiar with the rain. Happiness seems to be like a luxury these days. You try fighting demons publicly and then privately falling on your face. Holding it down isn't all that I can do. I fall apart beautifully too. I'm a pit bull on a chain with a muzzle in a cage, like a storm out on the ocean, viewed by everyone, misunderstood but untouched. I am a war waiting to happen, just looking for someone to listen without judgments or solutions. Confusion, I wish we'd all stop acting like we haven't felt it. And please stop side-eyeing me because you think my belief system has melted. The only thing that is left is God. In the darkness, moving amongst the void that is within me and the water from my tears. Like the beginning of creation, I will stare God in the face and watch them create me again. I learned how to be a woman by reading the back of tampon boxes and several late-night Google searches. I learned how to live without my mother by surviving. No one gives you a handbook on how to live without your mother. I spend whole days digging within myself for my memories of her, that sometimes I don't know what is reality or fairy tale. To have my mother exist only in theory is a special kind of hell that I wish on no one. What I wouldn't give to go grocery shopping with my mother as an adult just one time. I would sell all that I own just to walk with her arm in arm to the aisle of a grocery store. I wonder if she would be the same hard woman that I remember from my childhood, or if time would have eased her wounds and made her soft. I watched my family fall apart slowly after she died, as if she was made of some type of supernatural glue. I watched my memories of her in my free time. I used to watch her as a child in the kitchen and so badly want to create magic the way that she did. Every little thing she did was magic. And that's why I would have her tuck me in at night. And all of a sudden, all of my fears would melt away, and it didn't matter how many people were murdered in our town. I just knew my mother would protect me. I was 13 when my bulletproof vest vanished, and now I am 30, still trying to figure out how to make it through life without being so exposed. When you are a girl and your mother dies, you are forever changed. The kind of change that makes you wish you had a different name other than the one your mother gave, because no one would ever say it the way that she did. When the voice responsible for singing to me while I was in her womb ceased to exist, so did a part of me. I will never be Leah in this lifetime here on earth with a mother named Anita again, and no matter how much I search for her on my path, I will never come across her on my journey. These pills have ripped apart my throat while trying to swallow them, and maybe that is why I am just finding my voice again. Or maybe that's why I write poem after poem after poem, trying to describe this huge hole that is in my soul from simply her not being with me. What I wouldn't give to go grocery shopping with my mother, to finally find out what kind of ricotta she put in her lasagna, to hear her say, "I love you," to take back all of the fights. Man, to show her how much I've grown. I could see her now in the crowd at one of my shows. I could even see her smile. I know that she would be proud, because no one knows you like your mom. I know that she would encourage me to keep speaking my truth and keep fighting for the oppressed, because I watched her do that exact thing to the day of her death. Her heart 2 times enlarged because she literally gave her life to save others. I guess you could say that my mother was a modern day martyr. and that this is the gospel that she died for, genuine love, and that's why I speak and will never shut up, and if I die like she did, it would be an honor to live and to die as Anita's daughter, what I wouldn't give to go grocery shopping with my mother just one time. I would give my life just to hear her complain about how high the prices have gotten since the last time she was there.
It's such a joy from my vantage point to watch these women work. I want to take a moment and talk a little bit more about Generation Verb with you, because this is how we bridge the gap. What began with a touring troupe of poets has now grown into an academic educational element. Many of the former members of HerStory have either taught in Generation Verb or helped build the curriculum of Generation Verb. And what you're watching today is intergenerational womanhood right here on this stage for you. These women have opened up the cavities of their body and laid their souls here for you. Right? And so I just want you to see that bridge between those young women who opened up this show and what you're seeing with you today. There's been a special request for me to do a poem for you. So while I let the sisters here breathe a bit, I'm going to share this piece with you. Does my love affair with my blackness offend you? Well, maybe you need to hop off Massa's dick and realize that mental slavery is not over and you're about to receive a tongue lashing upon the back of the craziness that you speak. You see, I have no qualms with my roots. It is your ignorance that offends me. Stop rejecting your melanin. I think you have a case of vitiligo of the brain, preaching Latin pride as if it's something separate and distinct. I think your mind is as diluted as your bloodline. Colonial education has brown mouths screaming white power in an effort to drown black pride and bitterness. But my fear does not rest within the steel-toed boots of neo-Nazis. I have anger that rises in me every time I hear a Latino youth spew, I'm not black. Black is exactly what you are, Ken, and it is what I am. So every time you shout, I'm not black, not only are you preaching self-hate, but you're making your ancestors turn in their graves. Did they die in vain so that you could reject them for a colonizer that has robbed you of your history? Take the shackles off your memory. The chemicals in that deadly sound got you brainwashed, sister claiming salsa rhythms are what you're all about. Don't you know those congas trace their raíces back to Nigeria? Don't you know you're African by way of the Caribbean? Say it loud, soy negra and proud. Don't try to lay your insecurities on me. I know exactly who I be, and my skin be your mirror. No te confunde, que en tu sancocho, tu mondongo, tu guarime se encuentra la negra. Soy pura y verdadera, soy salsa bomba y la plena. Soy los colores de mi bandera, el rojo como el sangre que corre por mis venas. Soy Soledad, la negra. Thank you so much. I bring back to the stage these incredible, incredible, incredible poets. Here's her story.
Good evening, folks across the Americas and beyond. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Anti-Karen podcast, where we state the obvious and share the hot beverage when white women lose their minds. Wow. Over the weekend in Kenosha, Wisconsin, Barbara Benson stormed into a Walmart wearing nothing but face masks. I'm talking K95s, cotton, satin, reinforced, extra line. Struck down the same aisle as Barbecue Becky, the woman who called the cops on two black men making food for themselves. They were quickly exploded
up by security, taken to the back office, and split since female nudity is only allowed behind closed doors.
You got that right, Kristina. Wow.
Darn it.
Wow.
Wow.
Tuesday in Central Park, a belligerent dog walker, white dog walker, named Suzen. No, I'm sorry. Her name's not Susan.
It was Amy Cooper.
Amy Cooper, right. She called the police on Black dog walker, Christian Cooper.
Why?
Because he was he was angry that she was walking her dog, despite there being signs everywhere that her dog should be leashed.
Crazy.
She then threw herself onto the ground in a dramatic frenzy, like an angry toddler.
Like this?
No, more.
Like this?
More, way more.
Like this?
Way more. She's
Woo!
crazy, girl. Way more, girl.
Like that?
Close, but way more.
Okay.
Anyways, she still called the police on him, and Christian just remained calm, like good, strong Black men do.
That they do.
You understand?
That they do.
Wow. And then he started recording her as he knew that this was usual behavior for the Amy species.
Wow.
Wow. Just another example of white people not minding their own business.
Do they ever?
No.
No.
Never, ever.
You know what happened in my side of town?
Tell me.
Right in the heart of New Brooklyn.
New Brooklyn.
There's an old Brooklyn and there's a New Brooklyn.
The new one where the whites are? It makes sense. Okay, continue.
Right in the heart of New Brooklyn, Debbie, the downer, held up the UPS line for more than 2 hours after she refused to comply with the store's mask policy in order to pick up her 2 precious packages. She said she already had COVID, so she doesn't need to wear one. Then her sister Deborah, sisters, was kicked out of Kroger's for the same thing, but threw a Kimmy fit for all the cameras to see. Yes. Sources can confirm she did turn red.
Wow, that is disgusting. Wow. In other news of white peopling,
What happened?
Katie Duggar, an Idaho woman.
Idaho?
Exactly. What's in Idaho?
I don't
You
know.
What? White people like Katie Duggar. That's what's in Idaho. She said she had no choice but to wear a freaking burqa.
Oh,
to avoid
really?
the store's mask policy. The audacity of white people wanting to be oppressed so bad.
So bad.
That they stigmatize a whole entire religion that they did for damn near decades.
Honestly,
for more centuries.
definitely
Since white
more.
people been around, they've been
From the
oppressing
beginning.
people. It's crazy. It's annoying. And I take this personally, because my niece, who was as white as us, is a hijabi who also wore a hijab for years.
Wow.
And I saw the looks that she got. So this is really no laughing matter, Katie Duggar. I'm coming for you.
It's
Know
the
that?
girl.
Audacity
For me.
and me as well.
Thanks. There's only so many silly sallies we can take for the rest of the night, and we know that something else will happen tomorrow. Okay? Them whites love adventures and attending their
Those
events,
whites.
so we will keep you up to speed faster. You know who's gonna call you? Rebecca, or Karen,
Susan,
or anybody that call you.
Keep going.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll keep you up to speed faster than any of those people who call you to share the hot tea. Signing off as 2 Debbie Daddy girls, emotionally neglected, smarter than projected.
The Anti-Karen podcast exposing the white women of the world.
Not us.
Not us though, right? Take care.
The thing about trauma is that it's often realized in retrospect. So when you are experiencing trauma, you may not understand that this is the word for the weight in which you are carrying. Instead, you will find a boulder housed inside your chest. You will walk around everywhere apologizing to other people for the boulder being so big. You will apologize to the boulder for not being strong enough to carry it. You will feel unworthy. The feeling of not being enough will cook up in the heat of your mouth and spill everywhere you go, like pieces of sand off a shoe after you walked out of an ocean. But you must remember that there was a time it wasn't like this, when it was just you and your heart with no interruptions. My first experience of racism was when I was 3 years old, when a group of white teachers locked me outside in 6 inches of snow for an hour. After leaving me in an hour to soak with the ice, my hands turned into their own wind chimes, my cry sore from its own echoes. They decide to bring me back in and swarm around me like an interrogation office. They offer me a cup of boiling water and say, if you don't stop crying, we will place your finger inside of here until it burns. And isn't that something? How trauma always wants to burn your sense of what you feel about what you know. So these lips, knowing only crumbs of English, a language accented so different than my own, like a crescent moon backflipping itself into a new galaxy. These lips did not move like their lips moved. These hands did not move like their hands moved. So later that day, when I told my mother, who was young and new to this country, the only thing she knew to do was to quietly thread her lips and shut, to thread them shut and nod the way the light nods to darkness at the end of the day, or the way the mouth nods to its closing in the presence of fear. So now there's a 5-year-old me, or a 10-year-old me, or a 15-year-old me, or a 26-year-old me. And I'm walking around the world wondering why every room feels like a no, feels like you don't belong here or you're not enough. How that sweet whistle haunts my every step, how I bend my back like the spine of an overgrown rose, how I make my tongue a sacrifice, how I mourn my own being with sackcloth and ashes. Trauma is the ghost that lives inside of you long after all the others leave. It is the root of the mildew stuck to all your organs. If you let it sit inside of you long enough, rotting everything you touch. The only thing I knew how to deal with this pain is to go back to that little girl and say, listen, this world will break you if you let it. But inside of you is a fire no rain could put out. Inside of you is a foundation the mountains lay on. So when they lock you outside, make a snow angel out of the white dirt on the ground. And when they move those pebbles to the side, and when you don't understand a word of what they say, make up a new dance or a song or an entirely new language that is nobody else's but yours to bask in. And when they swarm around you like a bouquet of locusts, make your eyes a shotgun, your chin the strongest rifle they've ever known, and know that this too is your becoming. That no, you did not deserve any of this pain, but you survived it, and you can survive anything. So move those pebbles to the side and know that you are always, always, always enough.
How do I write a poem about justice without talking about Black bodies? Like, Black bodies ain't the people I love. Like, Trayvon don't remind me of my nephews. Like, Sandra don't remind me of my sister. Like, George don't remind me of my daddy. Like, Elijah don't remind me of me. An introvert and different and unbelievably strong, like being Korean and Black during coronavirus in Trump's America don't make me want to burn it all down. How do I write a poem about justice when Flint, Michigan still doesn't have clean water? When over 5,460 children have been separated from their parents at the border, when children are being tear gassed, when children are being tear gassed during the pandemic of a respiratory disease, when children are being tear gassed during the pandemic of a respiratory disease for protesting the murder of a Black man by a white police officer by asphyxiation, how do I write a poem about justice? Like the war on drugs didn't lead to Black fathers being ripped from Black babies, slavery. Like the war on drugs didn't lead to Black bodies being stopped, being frisked, like it don't matter if Blacks live. Like the war on drugs didn't lead to 1 in 13 Black Americans losing their right to vote due to a felony conviction. That was 2016.
the same year as Trump's election. 1 in 13 Black Americans without a vote. How do I write a poem about justice when I'm sitting here filling out applications? Current situation, my mother relies on me to help her save her Korean barbecue restaurant in New Jersey. She does not understand that this country doesn't care about either one of us or our survival. All she knows is that Shake Shack got $10 million, and how come she hasn't gotten anything yet? I tell her what the SBA representative told me, that we filled out the application too early, just before quarantine, when Asian businesses were already struggling because of the virus. For businesses like ours. I've applied for the NJEDA, the PPP, the EIDL of the SBA, and I'm looking for the words to say, I don't know how to help you, Mom. I don't know how to help you, Dad. I don't know how to help Trayvon. I don't know how to help Oscar Grant. I don't know how to help Brianna, Dominique, or Tony, Philando, Tamir, or Aubrey, but I'm looking for the words to say if our lives weren't important, why are they working so hard to take them away? Write because you want to make facts again. Read because the first step to co-opting a system is engaging in it. Just ask the FBI, the CIA, Justice Roberts, and Brian Kemp. Run because when you're standing in the voting booth trying to decide between Tweedledee and Tweedleduh, you'll ask yourself why there isn't a better choice and fight, because when they try to dismantle our bodies from our breath, we gotta use our voice.
In August 2016, I followed in my mother's footsteps and successfully underwent the gastric sleeve. Went from 320 to 150 in 7 months, 10 days, 3 chins, 1 face. It was crazy. Because if I stare in the mirror long enough, I still can't recognize me. I thought that losing weight meant that I could keep the old body, maybe break it out open for a night in the wind so I could dance without holes, take it to the seamstress and wear it as a coat. I thought that losing weight meant that I would love myself more than I did when I was fat, when in fact I loved myself short. That body was a cave I carved into a fort. That body was a stage I never let perform. That body was a gift I treated like a chore. Home wrecking war, quick trip to the store, house I never learned to swim in, so I shed. Shed so much that my shreds shed. Extended my life when I should have been dead. Yo, can you imagine how much hate it takes to one up to plate? To grow up overweight, being told you're too big to be great. We had Missy. But it's not like there was a Lizzo or Meg in 2003. I got so tired of sis that I cut her out of me, got so tired of sis that I cut her out of me, got so lost in a sauce that I forgot who I loved and how I loved and what I loved and can't seem to give it up for myself. How foolishly I believed my body was too big to be seen. When it was the best room I was already renting for absolutely free.
Dear Black man, I am not staring at you because I think you are going to rob me. I promise I will not hold my purse tighter when you are around, nor lock my car doors just because you walk by. I cannot stop staring at you because your beauty is breathtaking. It reminds me of safety, of protector, of strength. Your melanin holds manuscripts of those who created dynasties birthed by queens who first populated this planet. Your melanin is magic. This is no Mandingo memoir, nor some type of sick fetish. You are no object, no oversexed male. You are lover, friend. You are no thug. Let this serve as a reminder that your life matters more than just the people who look like you. I speak for the people who look like me, who may actually just be afraid to say it, that without you, there is no America. No so-called land of the free, where your equality is said to be subpar to even meet. There is no revolution, no passion, no art or music. There is no renaissance, no birth, no breath, no life, no me, no spoken word. You are the creator of good things. God's image is etched into your very being. Black man, you are no boy. The pavement was never meant to be your grave. Blood splattered shirts were never meant to be your attire. Your skin was never meant to be a target. Your smile was never supposed to fade. Your wings were never meant to be caged behind bars in a country that you built, symbolized by an eagle. Despite the hypocrisy, you forgive. Black man, it is okay to cry. I will cry with you. We will cry with you. Solidarity was never meant for the cold-hearted anyway. Let's leave the hate for the media and the lies that they spray, they spit on your character as though it were dirt in an attempt to make the blind see. They are no savior. They are serpents, poisoning society, lacing eyes shut to oppression, manipulating minds to make them think that the selling of young Black men to the prison system is just a figment of our imagination. Black men, you are no slave, no convict, no criminal. You are brave. You are bold enough to face another day in a country that teaches that your face should be feared. Black man, you are beautiful. I fear you as in reverence, as in respect, as in awe of such a precious life. Black life matters. Black life matters.
On this side, we all want one thing, a thing called family with arms as wide as the equator, plunging into you saying home, home, home in the language your mind has been speaking in all along.
Mourn the life you thought you would live. Put it in a box and bury it. Write a eulogy with your tears.
Once I tried to undo the myth, tried to undo the challenge of watering myself every day like a flower, until someday the cold liquid won't sting as bad. Tried to undo speaking of it as often as needed to get past.
Isn't that what life asks of us anyway?
Mourn.
One day I will spill the moon much more eloquently, and I won't prophesy a love story crashing. I will undress the concept of a generational blessing. I will
Mourn with sackcloth and ashes. Remember how alive it made me feel, and embrace the life that comes after death. There is life after this. And for generation after generation to survive the stickiest of that slime.
And strive when your world ends 1,000 more times.
So I fight all of those spells by falling back into the arms of love.
mourn, knowing I may never come back.
Mourn, knowing that if I do, there will be large shatters of me catching up with each other everywhere I go.
All of me is used to the taking, worth the breaking.
To wander into the sweetest resilience is to unlearn all things, all by nicknaming the failures.
Victory, champion, give from the ground, grow, your love will grow. New life, love, your light will grow. New life, love.
Her story, her story,
Her story, her story.
Thank you so much. I don't know where I should, oh, there should be a bow.
And that was her story. Please, in your spaces, give a round of applause as hard as you can so that these ladies can feel that vibe from Harlem all the way here in the Lower East Side. Thank you so much for spending your day with us. We are going to transition in a Q&A. I hear some of your scholars have some brilliant questions for our performers today. So just give us 1 minute for that transition and we will be with you shortly. Thank you so much. Oh, one more thing before I forget. If you are on social media, you can find us at HerStory Poets and at Generation Verb. Also hashtag HerStory Poets and Generation Verb whenever you're posting about us. Please share the love. Thank you so much again, and we'll be